Go ahead.
What do you think?
Just any general thoughts on UMKC?
You know, they've actually their scores are pretty, you know, can show that they've really improved. You know, I haven't seen all the games yet, but I've watched some. But you know when they went to the Bahamas, they played pretty well to beat George Washington and East Carolina, and then the team they lost to, if I'm not mistaken, in the finals was Liberty, and Liberty's still undefeated. So they played Iowa State good. I mean, that score wasn't indicative of how close that game was. So I think that they're playing, you know, pretty well, and they certainly play. You know, Bill plays a ton of guys. Plays, I think, 10 guys, all double-figure minutes, and you know, they have balanced scoring. At least, you know, leading scorers averaging 12. So you know, obviously there's a lot of guys between 8 and 12, but you know, I think they're certainly much improved.
You've talked a lot about the youth on your team here, still being young, even though they're kind of known names. How do you navigate that? I mean, are you able to coach these guys different because they're young but also veterans at the same time a little bit?
I probably don't coach them different regardless of classification. I never have. I've always thought the freshmen, they got to do the same thing the seniors do, and whatever. Now you should take into consideration when they have no chance not to know. It's not anybody's fault. But if they haven't experienced some things, you know, certainly you should be patient with that kind of stuff. But for the most part, when I look out there, I don't see young kids or vets. I just see guys, and you know, Isaiah Moss is a young guy compared to Devon Dotson in my eyes, because he's actually a newcomer. But to your point, I believe that I don't know what it was initially, but we do have to have our young guys play older. You know, that's not a problem with Devon and Ochai for the most part, but it is with Christian and Tristan and then a Silvio. We need to get those young guys certainly playing older to give us more depth and more production off the bench.
How do you get through to them on that then? Does that just take time?
I think so. I think with Silvio, opportunity is a big part of it. But even last game, you know, he was in there, he did fine and all that stuff. He just didn't have anything really happen good, you know. You know, you play well and you go 3 of 6 from the free throw line and miss a bunny, and just didn't have a chance to play and get numbers. The thing that's frustrating, I think, to those guys, and it's not as frustrating to me as it was earlier, is, you know, it's pretty evident that, you know, we got off to a great start the other night with 2 bigs out there, but for the most part, offense seems to flow better, you know, when we got a smaller team out there, and it's not those guys' fault, but their guy guards Doak. And when they're not in there, then their guy doesn't guard Doak as much. And so it's just a natural deal. I mean, just what's best for our team. And so, you know, we got to do some things. I need to be creative to do some things to make sure that we can keep better spacing and not allow that to happen as easily when those 2 bigs are in the game. And you know, I've never been a guy or a coach to run plays after a miss. You don't run plays. That's what I think. You know, you flow into what you do. Well, maybe when we play big, maybe we need to run some plays off a miss, because the plays will be designed to keep them apart. You know, maybe doing some things like that to help them more. But that's not how I've ever wanted to play, and certainly goes against how we played. But still, for this particular team, maybe that would be good for us.
Just to follow up on that a little bit, you said after Tuesday's game you want to see your team punish guys with your size a little bit more. What does that look like exactly?
Well, playing, basically protecting the rim and rebounding the ball better. I think, you know, we rebounded pretty good the other night, the first half, and then second half they got a lot of long rebound. We didn't rebound as well as the numbers the first half, and then we probably rebounded better than the numbers the second half. But I think that, you know, if you want if you want to play inside out and get their bigs in foul trouble and give them something to guard, and certainly creating more rim protection and lane protection, and then dominating the glass more. That's how I would see it. I don't see it as necessarily our big guys scoring a lot more points, but I can see David or Silvio posting so strong that they have to call a foul on David or Silvio, or the guy guarding David or Silvio. And I don't think we're doing that near as much, because not too many people can throw that many quality bigs out there as what we can. So if we can get to their bench, I would think that would be an advantage to us.
When the subs come in, how do you not have a drop-off in activity level and production?
Well, I think we have had a drop-off, and that's not being negative, but I think a lot of the drop-off is not anyone's fault. It's just maybe confidence and being reactionary as opposed to thinking. To me, Tristan Anaruna is one of the best athletes on our team. He's one of the best athletes. But I think thinking-wise, he gets tied up where he doesn't play to his athletic ability. Christian Brown was the best loose ball getter, extra possession guy we had during the entire months of September and October. Nobody close. But we haven't seen that in the game yet, because he's just worried not, well, do I get back? He's just worried not to screw up. So I think experience will help with that as much as anything.
Bill, you said earlier in the season that you thought this team had a fairly high ceiling defensively. When you guys play small, what does that ceiling look like in your ideal world?
Well, I think when we play small, you take away, in theory, one of the things that we will not do well playing big, and that's switching all ball screens, switching all screens, things like that we would do better. My teams defensively, and I think most coaches would probably say that, are better if they know this is how we play, as opposed, well, when we play this lineup, we're going to play this way, or when we play this lineup, we're going to play that way. You play the same way. Well, if we play the same way that's best for our defense, that means Devon and Silvio have to guard guards, and that hasn't been as good for us as what I thought it could be, but we are actually better at it than we were a month ago. But to me, when we play small, if it allows those positions to be interchangeable to the point where we can get support from the big guy, if the other teams try to post those guards, which could also play to our favor, and then of course much easier to get to shooters if you're able to switch everything. So that's kind of how I see it.
You've had some really good defenses during your time here. Do you feel like this can be one of those?
Not yet. No. No. Devon is great on the ball. He's not very good off the ball yet. There's a lot of things. Guys get behind our head a lot, too much. But I think we could develop into one of the better ones. But guys, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on this. You guys can look this up. But when we had those freshmen, Mario and Julian and Brandon, to go along with Russell and Sash and Darnell and that group, I think we led the country in field goal percentage defense, playing 3 freshmen and 2 sophomores. And we didn't switch. We didn't switch anything. So you had to be tough enough to fight through everything, and you had to learn how to show and cover and help. And so we won a national championship and never switched anything. So to me, I feel like the way that we do it now is easier to guard other teams' actions, because switching obviously is harder to screen. But I don't think we have that mindset that those teams had, not by any stretch yet.
That's kind of where I was going with the next question. 10.5 years ago with the national title team, they were much more experienced. But both teams have some depth inside, have some guys that can shoot, have some guys that can play defense, and have some tough guys. Can you draw any other comparisons?
Well, those are pretty good. You think about that team. Cole Aldridge didn't play a lot, and he ended up being a second-team All-American the next year, and we had depth, and we had a Marcus was our Russell Robinson, so to speak. Although Marcus is probably better at defending more people. You had some similarities, but I don't think this team still takes the same pride that team took in getting stops. Guys, Hey, there were teams in the Big 12 that didn't hang 40 on us. There were times we were up 43-8 to start a game against Big 12 opponents. I mean, we had some guys that when things were going well for us offensively, it didn't affect how they guarded on the other end, and I don't think we're quite there yet. Not close.
Bill, you've referenced, right in the back, you've referenced Ochai's confidence rising lately. How much of that is a product of playing with a freer mind, like you told him to do maybe a few weeks ago when you said you met with him?
Oh, I don't think you can't be confident without a free mind. So he's playing with a much freer mind. He still can improve some things passing the ball because I think he's a much better passer than what he's shown. But no, he's playing with a free mind, and he's not remembering makes or misses near as much. He's just thinking about playing, and to me, he's rebounding the ball. And you know, you worry about things that you can control, you naturally shoot it better, and he's definitely doing that.
Sprint Center is kind of dubbed as Allen Fieldhouse East. Can you talk about your team's performances over the years since you've been here in Kansas City?
Sucks for the most part. We haven't played well in this game historically in my time here. Well, we've won many of them, but they have not. Like last year, we crushed New Mexico State and beat them 1. There's been a lot of games, even going back to Kemper. When we played in Kemper, that were just kind of boring games, and there's not as much energy. And I think that's one of the challenges we need to bring Saturday is to bring that energy. It's not that the attendance is poor. It's not that fans are bad. It's not anything like that. It's just that I think that when you get outside your building in a neutral site type setting, even though it's not totally neutral, but it could be this week, I think, sometimes people want to be entertained. And then when you don't play well or play boring and they're not entertained, I think it can become kind of a dull atmosphere, and I think that's kind of what we've had over there. We haven't had that problem in the Big 12 tournament, but certainly when there's more energy and that kind of stuff. But in this particular game, it hasn't been a great game for us as far as us playing well. Now there's some advantages of playing in Kansas City, obviously, that we like, but as far as us bringing the same energy, I don't think we've done that consistently.
Hey, Bill, in what areas have you seen Devon improve from last year to this year?
I think he's actually trying to be a better leader. I think he's talking more. I think he's outside his comfort zone. I don't think I think he's confident where he is, so he's not worried about if he screws up or if I get on him. That stuff doesn't even register to him anymore like it may have last year. So I think from an intangible standpoint, he's trying. And the other thing is, he's leading the league in scoring, which is a shocker to me that he would be doing that. And to be honest with you, I see him continuing to score at the same clip. Now it may go down a little bit, but he's almost averaging 20 a game. 10 or 9 games in. So I think even though that'll probably drop, all stats drop when you get into conference play, but I think that's the thing that I would say he's improved at the most is just some intangibles and then his confidence to try to score the ball.
He seems to be so good at getting to the line. I know that
Yeah.
he had that last year, but did you talk with him at all about trying to get to the line more?
I don't think that we've had the conversation. You need to get fouled more. I think he knows that if he's fouled more, he scores more. I think a lot of times, how do I score? Well, we say that a lot. Well, if you score, get an easy basket, get to the free throw line. I mean, he's kind of figured that out, that he can get to the free throw line. I think he can do a much better job of rebounding defensively, because to me, one of the easiest ways to get to the free throw line is if we're in the bonus is to rotation, rebound, and block out and those sorts of things, and get a big guy to climb your back and that kind of stuff. And he hasn't done that like I think that he can, but certainly his ability to get defenders to put their hands on him is pretty good, and a lot of that's just created by his speed.